Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review to Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Everton 2 at Molineux Stadium last night. Another win on the road for Everton Football Club. I think that's something like 6 out of 6 now. Carlo Ancelotti's Everton have turned up to a very, very difficult Wolves side and ultimately beat them with not a striker on the pitch. Carlo obviously set up the side, which confused a lot of fans at 7:15 when the team news come out. There was a lot of shouts about it being quite similar to the game against Newcastle a few months back, where we didn't really know what the formation was going to be or the style. You had Gylfi Sigurdsson and James Rodriguez seemingly playing in a 3 with Alex Iwobi, Ben Godfrey and Luca Dean in the same side. So there was a lot of worries that it'd be a 5 at the back. It then obviously turned out that it was Luca Dean as sort of a left midfielder, left winger, with Ben Godfrey as a left back, and it was Gylfi Sigurdsson playing as a sort of false 9 with James up there. And it wasn't the best game of football, let's be perfectly honest with you. At times it wasn't pretty, it was quite boring, it was quite dull, but ultimately none of that really matters in the end. We're sitting here today and yes, it wasn't a great game, but ultimately we've gone out there without 2 of our best players, by the way, and I want to talk about Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison a little bit later on in this team, because if you take their goals away from this Everton side last season, we're not even playing Wolves at Molineux yesterday because we're playing Rotherham or Sheffield United or somebody like that in the Championship, because they're that important to this Everton side. And we will go on to talk about that a little bit more, but it was a fantastic win, wasn't it, Tom? Like I said, wasn't always pretty, wasn't always glamorous, but ultimately, given the circumstance, given the weakness of the side with injuries, not just Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. I know Richarlison was on the bench, but obviously ultimately wasn't fit to start. But Alam not available, of course. Luca Dean only just coming back to full fitness. James only just coming back to full fitness. It just shows that Carlo Ancelotti can get a tune out of these players, can't he, in difficult circumstances.
Yeah, I thought it was like a typical Italian job, weren't it? It was just come in. I mean, you looked at the team and the lineup, and everyone was guessworking, weren't they? How we do it, and it was just a straightforward 4-4-2. I mean, the first half was brilliant. Really, the first goal for Iwobi.
Yeah.
I thought it was brilliant. Brilliant play by James Rodriguez. That's where you want him, doesn't it? That's where we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Been wanting him to be in that final third in the centre in that number 10 role. And listen, both of our probably most creative players in our team come back, first game back together, and they go and do that, don't they?
Yeah.
Set Iwobi up. But I thought it just looked very disjointed then, didn't it? I think in terms of when they went ahead, I thought we just looked very disjointed and they sort of got on top of us. But then we sort of settled down and we nicked another one, didn't we? And
yeah,
it was just weird away, big Mike Keane. So I thought, listen, they're the games that you want.
Yeah.
They're the games that let's have it right. In past experience, Everton don't go and win that, do they?
Yeah. Well, exactly, that's it. And like you said, when the team news was released, there was a lot of confusion. There was a lot of, well, who's playing where? Is it James as a striker? Is it Gylfi Sigurdsson as a false 9? And we'll get onto the strikers in a little bit later on in the stream. But obviously, ultimately, it was a 4-4-2. It was Carlo Ancelotti starting Luca Dean as in a more of an attacking role, which we hadn't actually spoke about, I don't think, but I'd always thought it in the back of my mind. And I think this lineup sort of had the pace and power of Adama Traore in mind. Now, obviously, Adama Traore wasn't in the squad yesterday for Wolves for whatever reason. I think he picked up a knock, and they were severely weakened as well. Look, they had injuries, Traore, Jimenez, etc., etc. But I think Carlo's probably looked at it and thought, well, I'd fancy Godfrey defensively over Dean coming up against Traore. He's got a lot of pace, a lot of power, a lot of strength. And let's be honest, Ben Godfrey defensively is very, very solid. He's not going to give you what Luca Dean gives you going forward, but he'll give you a very, very, very solid defensive performance 9 times out of 10. So I understood playing Ben Godfrey at left back, but then you look at it and you think, well, sort of where's the place for Luca Dean then? Because you can't have a fit Luca Dean not in the team because he's so creative. His ability going forward is just absolutely absolutely head and shoulders above most players in the Premier League. So the decision to play Lucas Digne a little bit further forward, I actually thought was a very clever one, especially given the circumstance of not having Dominic Calvert-Lewin, which we knew for a cert from Carlo's press conference on Friday. So even if Richarlison had been fit to start, he'd have just moved into the centre, so Digne had still been able to play there. And you mentioned that ball from James Rodriguez, Tom. That's something that me and you have spoke about God knows how many times since Lucas Digne's been out injured, in terms of how much James Rodriguez was missing Lucas Digne for that overlap and run, because as good as Ben Godfrey's been, and he's been absolutely fantastic in that left back role, he doesn't burst forward. And you know what, I don't blame him, in the same way as I don't blame James Rodriguez for not sticking as a right winger, because ultimately Ben Godfrey's a centre half, very much playing out of position and doing a very good job there, so I don't expect him to burst forward. So when James has been picking the ball up recently, I know he's been injured himself, but in the games that Lucas Digne hasn't featured in, he's been looking for that over-the-top ball, and it hasn't been there. And within the first 10 minutes of the game, we saw exactly why James Rodriguez and Lucas Digne work so well together. He picks him up. It's an excellent cut back by Lucas Digne, and it's a fantastic finish by Alex Iwobi. And I agree, after that, you're sort of thinking, right, okay, we've started like an house on fire here. This is brilliant. Don't go and do what we've done against Rotherham and just completely fall asleep now for 80 minutes. And, we'll go on to the goals in a little bit, and we conceded what I thought was a very silly, stupid defensive goal to concede. But then I thought not long after that, we sort of just steadied the ship a little bit. And you could see we were very solid defensively. We weren't getting much thrown at us because Wolves weren't throwing much at us, but we were doing well defensively. Yerry Mina and Michael Keane were very solid. The midfield were okay. We'll get on to Tom Davies in a moment, because I know he's a big talking point. They were getting bypassed a couple of times, but you were sort of looking at that game thinking, well, given the circumstance, which is we're not playing with a striker, given the fact that Gylfi Sigurdsson wasn't making bursting runs beyond the the defenders, because he was never going to do that, given James Rodriguez is starting as a striker and ended up coming into a central defensive midfield role to pick up the ball and create, you were looking at that game at 1-1 thinking, if we can hold this out, this is a great result. It's a great result against a decent side with two players who are our goal scoring threat. And I want to drill into how important this win is, because Twitter's been brilliant today and social media's been boss, and we know how big of a win it is, and it really is. But I want to drill in how important this win is. Without Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think last season our highest goal scorer was Bernard on 4 and Yerry Mina on 4. Now, if we wouldn't have had those two players for the entirety of last season, we'd be in the Championship now. And I know you can say that for anyone, but it just shows the levels in which Carlo Ancelotti has upped this squad. Because, you look at the players he's brought in, and yes, they've been fantastic, and the signings in Decore and Alan and James and Godfrey have been absolutely excellent, and Olsen's done well when he's come in. But look at the players who have improved that. 12 months ago, 18 months ago, we were saying haven't got a future at Everton. Michael Keane, absolutely outstanding again. I've seen today, all throughout today on social media, about 20 different tweets of people picking out a specific player and saying he's been our most improved player, be it Michael Keane, who's been excellent in the last 12 months, Yerry Mina, who was very solid again, Alex Iwobi, who's starting to come into his own, really good finish yesterday, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who we all know about. It's not just about the players Carlo's brought in, it's about the level of everybody else that's just been raised massively, and ultimately that helps you towards getting wins like yesterday. But you're right, Tom, we started well. It was a good first goal, and I want to ask you what you made of sort of the team, and more so when the game started and you seen how we were going to line up with Lucas Digne at left midfield and sort of Sigurdsson in the false 9. I think we all expected that it wasn't going to be a busy day for Gylfi Sigurdsson. He wasn't going to be getting on the end of crosses or, getting shots on target, because he just doesn't make those runs, because he's not a striker, to be fair. He's not a striker. But what did you make specifically of Lucas Digne in left midfield, mate? Because, it's sort of one that makes a lot of sense, but just obviously you think, well, we haven't done it before, and it's obvious why we haven't done it. But Ben Godfrey at left back with his defensive ability, and Lucas Digne with his attacking ability at left midfield, it just worked, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, going off the first instance when we seen the team, I genuinely thought he'd go 3 at the back and just throw Dean at left wing back and put Godfrey on the right wing back, because I just didn't see where the pace was going to come from, or like the attack and movement was. But I think Godfrey, when we first started, I think Godfrey was left mid for the first 2-3 minutes. Yeah. So I was thinking, surely to God, we're not playing Luca Dean left back and Godfrey in front of him, but they switched in the next like 3 or 4 minutes, and I thought, oh no, that seems a bit better. And yeah, I thought he was very, very good. I mean, the game before that we were talking about, the Rotherham game, he looked very rusty, didn't he? Even defending wise, so it was probably very, very wise of Ancelotti to just put him in an attacking position. So yeah, I thought he was very good. I mean, it looked like he was back to his normal self, and like I say, him and James Rodriguez, like Batman and Robin, aren't they?
Yeah.
They're absolutely brilliant. I mean, when them two are on the pitch, we're firing, and listen, the Calvert-Lewin would have been drooling that last night at the deliveries that was getting put into that box.
Yeah, I think I put a tweet out, and I think you tweeted something similar. Calvert-Lewin probably has 2 or 3 in the first half last night if he's playing because.
I mean, the balls in that they were putting in. I mean, let's be honest, the whole team was just on fire with the crosses, weren't they? I mean, I think in the second half, just to go a little bit quick, I think Mason Holgate threw an absolute worldie in, and Sigurdsson obviously just too slow to get there. And but just on specifically Luca Dean, I thought he was very, very good.
Yeah.
Listen, if you, going forward, you probably think that the teams are like Mina and Keane are just so much more comfortable with Holgate and Godfrey as left back and right back.
Yeah.
He just seems to like that more stability instead of Coleman and Luca Dean just bombing on and flying at them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think they're very comfortable in it.
Yeah, so you're spot on there, and this has obviously been a question that's now come up on a number of occasions, given the level of performances since we've seen Mason Holgate at right back and Ben Godfrey at left back. Just before we get into that, Tom Marshall's donated 79p to the team. Thank you very much, Tom. We will get in the live comments in a moment. Do really appreciate that. I've seen a few people saying maybe this is the way to go now defensively, and it's difficult because ultimately that means then, because let's be honest, Luca Dean has to be in this Everton team, so that means then he defaults as the left midfielder, which sort of then leaves Richarlison in a situation which is like, where does Richarlison play now? Okay, you could say put him up front with Calvert-Lewin, but then you're taking out James Rodriguez or Alex Iwobi. So have we found something with this back line of 4 centre-halves, if you like, and Holgate at right-back, Godfrey at left-back, or do you think it's just something that's working at the moment and eventually it will have to revert back to Luca Dean taking up his natural position? Because you can't really deny that it's been working, hasn't it? I mean, Godfrey hasn't put in a bad defensive performance. Mason Holgate has had rickets, but has been quite solid for the pretty much all of the time that he's played at right back. So it's definitely a headache for Carlo, isn't it?
Well, I think he sees it in terms of going up against these teams who are more possession-based dominance. Yeah. I think it's worked perfectly. I mean, you go through it, and if you look at the Chelsea game, Chelsea had 70% possession.
Yeah.
You then Leicester had 59, Arsenal had 58. And then this Wolves game, Wolves have 53% of the possession. So it just seems to be that Everton just seems to be very comfortable in terms of letting teams have the ball and try and break them down. And then when they do break, they are very good at it. It's not like an counter-attacking sense as in lightning speed. Yeah. They just do it in 3 or 4 phases where they pass it out wide, they get it to Iwobi. And then obviously the pattern of play is get it to Iwobi, Rodriguez gets it, switches it to Dean, and then he's in, or it goes the other way. So I think going forward, I think in terms of West Brom's, your Burnleys and things like this, ultimately they're going to have to play Luca Dean and Coleman in these left back and wing, because if you're playing Godfrey and Holgate against these type of teams, they're not going to get us forwards, and they're not going to get into these attacking final thirds where they're going to need breaking these teams down. So I think it's so far against these top 6, top 8 teams, I think it's absolutely working wonders.
Yeah, no, I agree, absolutely spot on. It was brilliant again yesterday, and again, like we said, that's something that we haven't seen with Dean playing a bit further forward than Godfrey, and you just want to pick up on a point you made before. You right, the first 2 minutes, Godfrey was sort of playing as the left midfielder, and I was sitting on my couch just thinking, there's not a chance that we're playing both of them, and Godfrey's the one who's swinging in balls. But we spoke about Ben Godfrey a couple of days ago, Tom, and his willingness to just burst down the wing and throw balls in. I think he did it on one occasion yesterday. Really impressed with Ben Godfrey, especially. There was a couple of occasions. I think Pedro Neto got sort of pretty much a lot of free time, and Fabio Silva, and Ben Godfrey just looked like he went from gear 1 to like gear 2, and he just steamed past him, didn't he?
Just an absolute steam train. I mean, like I said in the previous one, I don't necessarily know when everyone's fit where Godfrey goes in as your first team starter, but he's Mr. Versatility, and he's Mr. Versatile, so he's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. He did. He like puts the burners on, and it doesn't even look like he's running at full speed either, does it? It just looks like he's thought, I'll put a bit of effort in here.
Well, see, this is what he was bought for, weren't he? He was bought to sort of play this high line that can get us out of trouble. Like, let's be honest, we never really played that much of a high line. It was more like a medium. It weren't a low block, but it was more like a little bit higher than usual. But that's what he was there for. He's there to do them recoveries, isn't he? And I'd be surprised if many can beat him.
Yeah, you're spot on. You do look at it and you think, who's going to beat that lad for pace? And if you're close with him for pace, he's putting you in the stands with his strength, because he's just absolutely excellent. And again, another really solid defensive performance from him last night. But we'll go into the goal in a little bit more detail, and we will get in the live comments. If you're watching, by the way, please do hit that like button. It does only take a second. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new as well. If you could share the stream on Twitter, Instagram, social media, get as many people involved as we possibly can. 50 people currently watching, so thank you very much. So Everton started really well. Like I said, again, there was confusion around the starting 11. It was pretty much set out as soon as the first whistle went. Well, a couple of minutes in when Godfrey and Luca Dean sort of switched. Obviously, we knew Alex Iwobi was on the right, and we knew that Gylfi Sigurdsson was playing as a false 9, if you like. And James probably default should have been next to him, but you know what you're going to get when James Rodriguez is on the pitch, and that is that he's not staying in the position in which the graphic at an hour before the game shows him in, because he's going to move about, he's going to come for the ball, he's going to collect it, he's going to want to create. And that again made our job a lot more difficult yesterday, in terms of, because we didn't have a natural striker, but we also didn't have somebody acting like a striker who was going to make those runs in behind. But obviously you wouldn't want James there, because then you're lacking the creativity. If James sticks to a false 9 position or a striking position next to Sigurdsson, we don't score the first goal, because you don't get no creativity, because he is the one creating, and he can't create and then score himself. Well, he probably can, but that's one for a future game. So the first goal, like I said, we started really, really well. Iwobi starts the run, picks the ball up, gets it to James Rodriguez. You know what James Rodriguez is going to do before he's even done it, because I've already seen Luca Dean making a burst and run, and I know that ball's going right over to Luca Dean, and Dean plays it into a dangerous area, and fair play to Iwobi, Tom. He sees the run of Luca Dean, and he knows, right, okay, he's going to pull it back here, and I'm going to get on the end of it. And it's a fantastic finish, isn't it? Seeing, the commentators last night trying to say it took quite a deflection, which is the reasoning as to why it went in. But I think it was an absolutely exquisite finish, considering he's turning his body, and he's got to get the right amount of power. He gets it right in the corner. Seems to have gone from strength to strength, Iwobi, yesterday. He started that passage of play, and ultimately he ended it with a great finish. And like we mentioned before, it was that Luca Dean, James Rodriguez partnership that is pretty much like carbon copy, isn't it now? It's like copy and paste week in, week out, and it still just hurts teams every single time they play against it.
Yeah, I mean, Iwobi in that instance was very, very good. He carried his run on, which I thought later on in the game he didn't really do much of, which was a bit frustrating. He sort of started staying wide, where I thought he was doing damage when he did float in. I even put a tweet out saying if Sigurdsson and Rodriguez are going to drop, then Iwobi's got to fill that space. Yeah. He's got the pace and power. I mean, when that ball comes to Iwobi from Mina, it was a brilliant little 1-2 with James, but he just floats away, and no one carries the run, because he comes inside and there's that space there. So, but the actual touch from Dean's just brilliant. I mean, that's just so difficult to do, to just lay it off like that. in terms of technical ability wise. That it looks so simple, but it isn't. It's like a floated ball over where he's coming under pressure and he just taps it into a nice area where Iwobi finish. And I mean, it takes a tiny little bit of deflection, but I didn't think it really took it off the target. But yeah, I thought he was very good. I mean, just going on to Sigurdsson and how his role was when you've just picked up on it, then he was in a bit of a no man's land, weren't he? Really, Sigurdsson. He sort of started doing what James was doing. Yeah. So you had two players who were dropping off and trying to get involved. But Cody and I can't remember who was centre back. I think it was Saiss. Was it Saiss? Yeah. They were marking no one. Yeah. They must have thought, oh, this is a right little touch. This you can mark an absolutely no one. So, I mean, that going forward could hinder us really. Yeah. That because it's when you look at the XG and things like that, we were 0.52. We never really made it, but listen, James Rodriguez made the second one, and Iwobi done another great run. Yeah. When you think, there's no one in that team that can put that in apart from James Rodriguez. Yeah. Just slides it in. He disappointed me really there, Iwobi. I thought he was either going to smash the net in or just switch it across to Sigurdsson. But no, that's what I'm saying. We've been banging the drum about this, haven't we, for ages. James Rodriguez in that little pocket of space in between the lines is just absolutely brilliant, isn't he?
Yeah, spot on. I was just about to say that actually when you spoke about Iwobi sort of stopping those runs centrally in the second half. We've seen, of course, like you've just mentioned there, a couple of minutes after we scored the first one, it's a lovely one too with James, and James pretty much does what he does every single game. He done it with Gylfi Sigurdsson against Burnley when he put Sigurdsson right through. He just plays a ball that completely and utterly just ends the entire defensive midfield of the opposition team and puts somebody one-on-one with the goalkeeper. We've seen it on Saturday against Rotherham with the Corey's goal, and Iwobi really should do better. I think he maybe panics a little bit because it's a harder chance than the goal that he scored, but ultimately if he scores that one, and obviously we're 2-0 up in a very, very good situation. But you're right, he sort of stopped those runs and maybe just sort of adopted the okay, let's just battle rather than let's just get forward and try and create and let's just battle and try and see out the game. And then obviously big Mike Keane steps up and scores the winner. But no, you're absolutely spot on that ball from Luca Dean is just next level, absolutely next level, and it just shows what we've been missing. I think he's got the highest or joint highest number of assists in the Premier League for a defender this season. He's got 5 assists in 9 games. The lad is just creativity oozing, and not just 5 assists in 9 games, by the way, like you said, Tom. He got 1 yesterday, which is a fantastic ball in, and Alex Iwobi finishes it. He'd have had 2 or 3, I honestly think, if Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison had been there, because the quality of ball that was getting swung in that first half was just crying for somebody like a Dominic Calvert-Lewin to get on the end of it. And you mentioned Sigurdsson, and I think it's difficult for Gylfi Sigurdsson. I don't want to sit here and go in and look, he done nothing. He done effectively worked hard, that was it. I think he had 16 or 17 touches, I heard. He didn't have many touches on the ball. He's not a striker, so he wasn't running in behind the defenders. And like you said, Conor Cody and Roman Sarge were probably sitting there thinking this is easy. We've got an easy day at the office here. But it wasn't his natural position, was it? So it was sort of difficult. He was put in a difficult situation, and I think, obviously the hope is that we don't play that formation, or at least we don't play those attacking players often. Maybe not so much Dean. I want to talk about Dean playing in that role a little bit later on. But the hope is that come Sunday, and we mightn't even have a game Sunday because Aston Villa have asked for it to be postponed, and we don't know how that's going to go. They still haven't had their training ground open, I don't think, and we're sitting on Wednesday now. So but let's say for argument's sake the game is on because it's still on at the moment. Come Sunday, the hope is that we have at least Richarlison ready to play from the start, and he adopts the striker position, and hopefully Dominic Calvert-Lewin as well. It is worth noting Abdoulaye Doucouré will be out for that game on Sunday because he picked up a yellow card yesterday. If it goes ahead, he'll be out for the next Premier League game, I think. But you're right, no, we started really well. It was a fantastic goal, really well worked by Luca Dean. And just on Luca Dean then, just a little bit more playing playing in that left mid position. Do you think that's something that we'll see more of then? And like you said before, I totally agree, by the way, Tom, about playing Godfrey and Holgate as fullbacks when we're playing against sides that are going to have a lot of possession and that are going to come at us with attack and threat. Do you think in those games then you might look at a Luca Dean and think, right, you're going to play on the left now, and then ordinarily Hammers and Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin play as strikers, or do you think maybe it was just sort of a one-off?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a one-off, because Ancelotti come out today, didn't he, and said Calvert-Lewin, he's just going to see how he goes the next few days, and so ultimately he's not going to be playing against Villa. Yeah. You can probably guarantee that. So he's going to have to, isn't he? Because he's only the other one really who's got pace and who's effective in the final third in that team, apart from Iwobi from the wide areas. Yeah. I mean, if you decide to put Sigurdsson out there, it's a waste of time, because if you he's got one good thing in him, Sigurdsson. He's just a little bit of a workhorse, isn't he? I mean, he'll
give a lot, but a lot to Sigurdsson doesn't really affect the game.
Well, if you just look at his stats alone, when he played up front there, he had 0 shots on target. He had 1 across that never affected anything, and his touches in the box was 0.
And he played striker as well.
I know, that's what I mean. I mean, I think it was. I'll probably give him 2 opportunities where he did progressively run into the box, but he was like a yard off. I mean, like you mentioned, the Holgate one and things like that. Yeah. But just on Luca Dean, this season he's only played 759 minutes. It's like,
crazy, isn't it?
And you just look at his stats, it's just like outrageous, really. I mean, his cross to pass ratio is 12.52, and he's got a 38.89% accuracy on the crosses. I mean, you look at his touches in the box, he gets 1.19 in there, so that's got above average. And then his assists is 0.26, so he's in the top 1 percentile of the whole league. So he's absolutely flying. I mean, he's probably, if he didn't get the injury and he was continued this form, you'd be saying he's the best left back in the Premier League, wouldn't you? We seem to do pretty well with our left backs over the last few years, don't we? So
I mean, I'm saying that now, mate. I'm full on microphone on the top of me roof, megaphone saying that now.
But his stats back it up. You know what I mean? I mean, you look at Andy Robertson, all that, he's done very good, but he's just dropped off a little bit of the season. Well, whether ultimately what's going on in that team and all that affects things like that. But listen, he's very, very good, and we're lucky to have a player like that of that calibre, aren't we?
Yeah, spot on. And like you mentioned about Ben Godfrey before, versatility, being able to play left back, being able to play centre back, being able to play right back. It's an advantage for Everton to now look at that performance yesterday and go, well, now we've found out Luca Dean can play left midfield. And that wasn't as surprising as Ben Godfrey playing left back, because ultimately Luca Dean's an attacking minded left back, so to say could he play in left mid was sort of like, well, probably but it gives us another option, doesn't it?
Yeah, but he can play that winger role that we so desperately need. Yeah. Like, there's no one else in that team. Like Richarlison and Iwobi are sort of similar in the sense that they come inside, like a bit of like inside forwards. We haven't really got that. Like that, like we got rid of Walcott, but he was like that winger type who just gets to the byline and crosses balls in for fun. Yeah. Dean can be that. I mean, ultimately, if we all know he's very good defensively, so he's tracking back and doing well. So, but if you just leave Dean up and you just get him into positions to just cross balls in for Calvert-Lewin, then that's all. It's pretty basic, isn't it? Yeah. But it's straightforward. And that's ultimately what you want. You just want to create chances for your forwards. Yeah. And like I said about Calvert-Lewin, I tweeted the other day. I mean, his stats are just ridiculous in terms of how he does in front of goal and all that. He's absolutely brilliant. I'm pretty sure I put out I think it was like 28% goal conversion rate. I mean, that's far and above average. Yeah. That's just. I mean, I've compared it to Bamford's. Bamford's only on 16%, and he gets an extra 2 or 3 chances a game. Yeah. So that just shows you what he can do. And listen, when everyone's fit and available, you wouldn't be surprised if Ancelotti sort of did give Richarlison a rest, and I know probably get absolute pelters for that, but he is probably our best player. But when you've got Dean and Iwobi on that sort of form, you can't really ignore it, can you?
No.
You to just sort of facilitate someone else. I mean, to me, Richarlison looks like he needs the break. He needs to sort of just have that 2 to 3 weeks of just no football and just getting back to his normal self. I mean, he's probably still struggling with the concussion, isn't he? And when he come on, he just didn't. I don't know. There's just something not right with him, is there?
No, I think. I don't know whether he was still struggling with the injury. I don't know whether he's still struggling with the concussion. He didn't look amazing. I mean, to be fair to him, he was coming on in the last, I think he come on as we took the corner, which led to the goal. And I think the best thing he done was as soon as we scored, he picked the ball up and just volleyed it. But he come on and he won a couple.
Run.
Yeah.
The run,
the run as well, which it could have. And again, I think it's just a confidence thing with him. I think if you've got a confident Richarlison, he buries that. He absolutely buries that, and you're sitting here and it's an easier last 10 minutes than what it was. But I think it's probably a mix of a lack of confidence, a bit of frustration from his part because he's not scoring goals, and all of the injuries that he's picked up. I mean, like you mentioned the other day, I mean, this lad's had a suspension so far this season, which has kept him out for 3 games. He's had an ankle injury. He's had a wrist injury, which you might say, you don't use your wrist in football, but it's about balance. He was running with a cast on. Concussion. This, that, and the other. He just gets kicked up the park, doesn't he, constantly? And
he doesn't really. Where you see these top managers come out and start saying, "Oh, we want Salah protected and Mane's protected," and then you look, De Bruyne needs protecting. I mean, Richarlison gets like the worst labelled ever, saying he's a dive and he goes down too easily. I mean, we've heard that nonsense in the commentary as well. I mean, he gets absolute pelters left, right, and centre. And listen, maybe it's time for Ancelotti or the club to come out and start saying like he needs more protection because he can't keep going through that.
Yeah, spot on.
He just can't. I mean, it's probably affecting him mentally, and I mean, I'm surprised he's even on the bench from the way he got knocked out against Manchester United.
Yeah,
I know it's a protocol for a week, but that'll be still shaking him.
Yeah, spot on. And ultimately, look, if we had a stronger squad, and if we'd have maybe stumbled across... Well, I say maybe stumbled across Luca Dean playing left mid, but Luca Dean's only just come back, and that's very premature. In a normal sense, Luca Dean would still need a couple of weeks to... It's been a miraculous recovery.
Would you play Luca Dean Sunday? Just going off from and coming back and played 2 games in 3 days?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because, again, it's difficult because... I'd like to say give him a rest so you don't, he has that time on. I know there was some people saying he shouldn't play yesterday, certainly not at left back anyway, because obviously he played so long on Saturday. But then you look at it and you think, well, maybe Richarlison goes in. Maybe it was a case of Luca Dean starts this one and then Richarlison starts the next one.
I was thinking more so because this Villa team looks like they're not going to be
full strength.
Full strength. I mean, Nkunku, it just seems...
Oh yeah, Nkunku, yeah. I'd have him in there.
It just seems pretty obvious to play him against a team that's going to be lacking for fitness, and then also he's probably not going to be for going up against Villa's first 11.
Yeah.
So I think it's a perfect game to rest Luca Dean.
Do you think just off topic for a minute, do you think it'll be on? Given the training ground's still closed.
Well, it's all signs of it's not going ahead, but why not just call it now? Why do this sort of Man City thing where they're going to get to the last minute of thing and then Everton prepare all week? I'm not a fan of this. I mean, everyone going on about why can't they just put like what they put out against Liverpool and they haven't put it. I mean, if you don't put a team, someone in the FA Cup, you avoid the game, and then the other team goes through. It's a whole different situation. But the Premier League sort of needs to sort of work out something here that twice now we've been stopped by COVID, but yet we're going to get told a day before the game or what goes on there. I don't really know the protocols in that sense, but I feel like Everton need to know what they're going to be preparing for.
Yeah, no, I agree, and like you said, I can't be bothered with this nonsense of 2 hours before the game when you're ready and the players are ready and you're expecting it gets called off. This is the Manchester City one. I think again, I think it was ridiculous, and and I don't want to go too much back on that, but as fans, we didn't really know much about the Manchester City situation until the day when it was all released and it was all leaked. We've known about this for 2 or 3 weeks now. We've known that Villa have had a massive outbreak. We've known that the training ground's being closed. Apparently there was a meeting, I think it was today, because I think it was announced yesterday that there was going to be a meeting today. So just come out and make the decision, and if you're cancelling it, don't have the players going through vigorous training, because ultimately, if this game is postponed, then Luca Dean gets another 2 weeks rest, Richarlison gets another 2 weeks rest, Dominic Calvert-Lewin is back, Alan I think will return before the next game, or at least from what Carlo Ancelotti said, he'll be returned to training, so he'll be in and around the team, mightn't be ready to start. But I agree, it's a nonsense, isn't it, when they're leaving it until last minute. And
yeah,
where are the youth players training for a start if the training ground's closed?
They must have a separate one if they are doing that. I mean,
otherwise it'd be no discussion, would it? Because they'd say we can't even train, so we can't play.
Yeah, I don't really know with the Villa currently. I don't know whether they've got a separate one or they might be on different parts of the training pitch in the training ground. You know what I mean? It could be one side for the first team and then the other side for the reserves. I don't really know how that works for them. But just on that, I mean, me personally, I know you're looking at it from a positive in terms of just getting fitter and things like that, but after a win like that, you'd want to play.
Oh no, I agree. I mean, look at the West Ham game. Not the West Ham. Yeah, the West Ham game. We could have played City. We were all made up about it, and then
they come back to lethargic in Gear 1, weren't they? But after that game, you want that Villa game now.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
Absolutely. You're seeing them at the end. I mean, you're seeing some reporters coming out and saying Everton staff and players sort of over-exaggerated the celebrations at the end, but like they've just got beat by West Ham and then they've just put themselves back into the mix. I mean, when you look at it on the bones of it, we've got 17. We're 17 games in. Yeah, the league is pretty much starting to form. So at this point, if you start getting to 25 games and you're still in the mix, ultimately you're going to be in the top 7, because these teams who stay in. I was looking through the years of like where these teams dropping. If you continue your thick form and things like that from game week 17, the top 7 don't really change. Yeah. They might change in terms of one might drop down from like 7th or to like 8th or something, but in terms of that top 6, top 5, it doesn't necessarily change, because that's your top teams for the year, unless massive injuries come into play, where I wouldn't really like James Rodriguez and Sigurdsson playing up front for the next 20 games. But if we get our best players back, we're gonna be in there. Yeah. This is what the whole celebration was for. Yeah. They know they're in a fight, and listen, we're thinking Champions League. Yeah. They're probably thinking the league. Yeah. The way they're thinking, you hear Michael Keane at the end. You sort of get the feeling that they think they're in the mix for it. Yeah. Which is nuts, by the way. Which is
even Ancelotti said it's nuts.
Well, I come out and said if Everton go beat Villa on a Sunday before the Liverpool game and Manchester United beat them, we will go 2 points ahead of Liverpool. Now, if you look in terms of how we finished, Liverpool finished 50 points ahead of Everton last year. That's just nuts.
It's mad, isn't it? Well,
to even bridge that back is just crazy.
Yeah. It's mad. It is mad, and we will get back into the game in a moment, but I think this is a perfect time to bring up Carlo Ancelotti, Tom. Me and you sat down last week and spoke about the West Ham game and how it wasn't a great game, but ultimately there's many a positive to take out of the current situation in the league table, and we will get in the live comments in a moment. A big thanks to everybody for getting involved. Please do get your comments in, leave the video a like, share it, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Carlo Ancelotti, Tom, I seen a stat today that said that it took think it was Sam Allardyce, Marco Silva and Ronald Koeman over 500 days to win 10 Premier League away games with Everton. It took Carlo Ancelotti just over 300 days to win 10 Premier League away games with Everton, and football was suspended for 101 of those days. So it shows the levels, doesn't it? Like I said earlier on in the stream, mate, you know, not just the players that have come in, your Decores, your Allans, your Godfreys, your James who've been playing well, but a lot of these players that we all sat here, and I'm not by any means and by any stretch of the imagination saying the squad's good enough and certain players are good enough to get us in the top 4 or win the league, whatever. We know we need to improve. We'll probably be sitting here in 2 weeks talking about a defeat, saying this needs to improve, we need to improve that, we need to improve. We need to improve the squad. It's clear as day, it's light as day, we know that. But players like Michael Keane, Yerry Mina, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Alex Iwobi, not so much Alex Iwobi because I still think he's got a lot to prove, but certainly those three, Mina, Keane and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, wasn't a long time ago when fans were saying those players aren't good enough and we need to move them on. This is a massive credit to Carlo Ancelotti, isn't it, where we are. You've just mentioned then, last season Everton finished 50 points below the team that won the league. We're now 3 points behind them. No, 1 point. Is it 1 point? One point behind them. So if we win on Sunday and they don't, bearing in mind they've got a very difficult game, then we'll go ahead of them, which is mad considering we're in January. And I know you can say, oh, it's tight and this, that, the other, but look at Everton this season, for example. Winning away games, which under Marco Silva, we could go away to the local Sunday league team and I still wouldn't be confident because we were just dreadful away from home. Now we go away, we've beaten Spurs, Palace, Wolves, Leicester, who else have we beaten? Fulham, Tottenham, all away from home this season. All away just in this season. We beat Watford in a tough game at the back end of last season. Newcastle in a tough game at the back end of last season. So not only on away games, the way in which we're performing and the fact that we're getting results in these games where we're playing with no striker on the pitch. We're playing with Sigurdsson as a false 9 who's got about as much pace as this cup of tea sat next to me, not making progressive runs, but we're winning games of football. Not only that as well, but add that to the disappointments, the pushbacks, which we all knew were going to happen and we all knew were just a matter of time because ultimately it's a transition season and there were always going to be games in which we lost. There were always going to be performances in which we were poor in. We're bouncing back the next week. When, you know, other than that run at the you know, in the middle of the season when we went on a couple of defeats, we come out of that with a fantastic win against Chelsea. We lose on New Year's Day. We bounce back and we win, you know, against the tough Wolves team. Ancelotti has done wonders, hasn't he, mate? It's nothing short of miraculous from him, and that's what having a world-class manager brings to your team.
Yeah, he's just tactically astute, isn't he? You look at the new day and age of these managers where, like, you look at Marcelo Bielsa getting the absolute plaudits from the journos because they went and got beat 6-0 against Manchester United. I mean, I don't really see many journalists talking about Carlo Ancelotti and what the job he's doing. Pretty much when you think about it, he's going under the radar, really, what he's doing.
Yeah. I don't mind that, though.
It's totally going under the radar. I mean, this sort of new age of loving expansive attacking football and entertainment football, that's brilliant for the neutral fan. I couldn't care less. I mean, I'd rather take a 1-0. It's very similar to when we come forth under Moyes, under Moyes when it was just 1-0. We were just grinding out these games. It weren't pretty football, but they were just winning. It was just defensively very well structured, and then they were just getting the 1-0s and they were brilliant. That's just sort of the sense of what you're getting now, but they're just a little bit better attacking wise. So listen, what he's done in terms of where he's bringing this team, like you just made, like I've made the comparison there against Liverpool, 50 points. I mean, at this point of this season, you can go, oh, and many things can happen, but let's have it right. That is such a massive progression in the space of a year he's been here. Yeah, well, he's only been here a year. Exactly. Well, I mean, over a year. You know what I mean? He's brilliant, and I hope these calls from like Talk Sports absolute connoisseur, Danny Murphy, comes out and puts his words into the garbage after he said that they don't fit. I mean, it's just nonsense, isn't it?
It is spot on, and like you said, look, there's always going to be opposition fans and pundits saying, "Oh yeah, but it's a difficult season, and you're only 3 points from 15th as well." Blah blah blah. That's fine, but look at
they're all in it.
That's exactly. But just look at the direct comparisons. How many games we played this season? 17, 18? 17. Go and look at how many points Everton had after 17 games last season. Where Everton were in the table after 17 games last season. I think we were something like 15th, 16th. We couldn't win away from home for love nor money.
Put it this way, it weren't great.
It wasn't great whatsoever. Look at a year later with 4 signings, by the way, and a lonely goalkeeper. Who there's some talk about Olsen actually bringing a little bit of experience to Jordan Pickford, because we have seen Jordan Pickford's performances. Look, he hasn't been massively tested, but he's been quiet, which is a good thing. When talking about Jordan Pickford, he's been quiet. Nothing, you haven't been able to point him out and go, "Oh, look at that, look at this." It's just been, every time I'm doing the player ratings now, I'm saying Jordan Pickford's name and I'm saying he was solid. Didn't have much to do, but he was solid, which shows the progression in Jordan Pickford, and that may or may not be, again, it's just a punt in the air. What it's like having an international goalkeeper in Robin Olsen next to you, and saying it every week. But like I said, not only the players he's brought in, but the improvement in the players that were already at the club, the mentality change, going away from home, conceding but getting back into the game, winning games away from home as if it's comfortable, as if that's just what we do, and it's absolute light and day. It really, really is light and day, and
it's just on what you mentioned before. Go have a look at I've just pulled it up. Then this time last season, what would you say? Well, have a guess.
15.
How many points? How many points?
How many points have we got now?
32.
32. 19.
Yeah, close. 18, and we were 16th.
18 with 16.
So we were minus 9 on goal difference.
So we've near enough doubled our points. Off a couple of wins off doubling our points.
Well, exactly. That's what that type of manager brings. Don't you? You can say, "Oh yeah, it's the players and all that," but when you think about it, these players weren't performing.
No.
For any manager.
No.
I mean, like you said at the start of the season, I mean, Michael Keane was gone for me.
Yeah.
He was gone. I thought Lewin just. I never said not necessarily thought that he'd be a championship team, far from it, but I didn't think he'd go to the levels he's being put at now.
Yeah.
From Ancelotti coming in. I mean, that was never even a conversation for anyone.
No.
No one even ever had hazard a guess the potential that Calvert-Lewin could become this goal machine. No one had it.
Yeah, exactly.
So you brought that from him, and then I'd even suggest that Davies has improved with him. I mean, I mean, look, others have just deteriorated, but they were ultimately on the decline anyway. Yeah. But you look at the like of Luca Dean and our top players before he got here. I think he's improved them 1,000%, hasn't he?
100%, and the buys both to Marcel Brands and Carlo Ancelotti, the players that we've brought in have been exceptional. Ben Godfrey is, but just thinking, with the sign Gabriel, we probably wouldn't have signed Ben Godfrey, and I'm not saying Gabriel's a bad player, but
no, but with Gabriel, he was good, but he's just one dimension in his centre half. So he would never have come across this back four. Or you'd never have had the back four, or ultimately we probably wouldn't be in the position that we were if we never had Godfrey, because the tactics and everything that he's chose revolves around them four playing on a left back and a right back, don't they? And Mina and Keane. But I think the big thing is that fans should notice, in terms of looking at other managers and comparing them to other managers, he's got like 5 tactics he can grow to. He's got A, B, C and D, and that's just perfect for what you want as a manager. You want him to adapt in the game as well. You see these managers, they've got like the set out 4-3-3, pass it round, all that. If that doesn't work, they still continue to do it. You don't have a plan B. We've got one similar to what Mourinho is and things like that. We've got a world-class manager who goes and wins and knows how to win. Spot on.
And like you said then, at the start of the season, when we were playing we won 7 on the bounce, and you had that back line of Coleman, Dean, Mina and Keane, and you had the midfield and the forward line, and then we lost after the Liverpool game to Southampton, and we went on a bit of a losing run, and you were sort of looking at it thinking, have we got a plan B? How are we going to get out of this without going in the transfer market and bringing in better players or a better squad? How are we going to get out of this? We come across Godfrey at left back, Holgate at right back, like you said. Gabriel wouldn't have been able to do that role, so if Godfrey wouldn't have been here, we'd have been stuck for a left back. We then have just come across Luca Dean playing left midfield and Sigurdsson in a false 9, even though it didn't really work.
Just compare that Everton team that played and the performance against Tottenham to now.
Yeah,
it's totally different.
But it's getting results.
But in terms of he can get the team playing like that. But also we can put it like this, the way we're just grafting and putting a shift in. That's ultimately what you want. I mean, I know we played, I know when you mentioned Southampton, the game after Newcastle, that was a terrible. Yeah. But at least he tried something.
Yeah.
At least he tried something different. He sort of played Sigurdsson and Gomez off Calvert-Lewin. It never worked, but at least he was trying. At least he's willing to adapt. And I mean, I think his son has got a lot to do with it as well.
Davies.
I don't think he gets a lot of praise, and especially Duncan Ferguson.
Yeah.
I mean, Duncan really, I mean, everyone should fucking, sorry for swearing, bow down to like what he done. Like he pulled us out the absolute shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That man has done so much for this club, and really personally, from like Boardwalk, he's a bit underrated in my opinion.
No, I agree.
Like, everyone takes it for granted, like, oh yeah, he loves it. Like, he absolutely loves it. But what he done, and in terms of what he, like, the Marcos, listen, we all thought we were getting relegated.
Yeah.
I mean, Koeman a little bit, but the Marco Silva one, it was totally
after that Norwich defeat, I was half convinced.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was game, set, match. I thought, right, I can't believe I'm going to be watching Everton in the Championship, but you're just going to have to get used to it now. And then he come in and just totally transformed a lifeless stadium and a lifeless team and put some heartbeats into it.
Yeah.
It was absolutely brilliant.
No, I agree, absolutely spot on. And another thing that I have massive respect for Duncan Ferguson for is he come out at a time when it would have been very easy. He had the Sky cameras in his face, he had the BT cameras, he had all of the pundits, and
he loved them.
He loved it. But they were trying to. He come out at that time when everything was going so well, and he was asked constantly every 2 minutes, "Do you want the job? Are you going to get the job? Are you going to go for the job?" And it would have been very easy for Everton, like it was for Arsenal, like it was for Man United. And you could say it's working for them at the moment, like it was for Chelsea. It would have been very easy for Farhad Moshiri and Everton to go, yeah, we'll give it to Duncan Ferguson. Then he probably won't want an awful lot of money. The fans are on board, the media see him on board. He's had a good run. But Duncan Ferguson come out after every game and went, no, I want Everton to go out and get the best man for the job. Well, I don't want it. I'm not in the conversation.
That's a credit to him, though.
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
What I mean. That's what I mean.
Person. I mean, he ultimately put the club before his personal gain. Like, let's be honest, any of us in that position, we'd have probably wanted it.
Yeah.
You heard David Unsworth, he sort of sounded out he wanted it when he took over for their few games, but he just got found out a little bit, really. But I think ultimately, Duncan Ferguson needs absolute all applaud that he can get. And listen, if David and Carlo and Duncan Ferguson get this team, like this squad, into Europe, then it's absolute brilliant.
It is.
I mean, it's probably one of the best jobs I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, I agree, absolutely. Let's get into the comments then, and then I want to go into talking about a bit more about the game. I want to talk about Michael Keane, Tom Davies, the defence, obviously the goal that we conceded, which Finder General says, evening all, what's happening, mate? Cal says, think of this, lads, we played the Wolves at Molineux in July and we got smashed a few months ago. Now we beat them without 3 of our best players. Well, exactly. Look at the difference in performance, and ultimately Carlo Ancelotti was asked about that game in his press conference on Friday, and he said, well, we've improved massively since then, and we've improved defensively for a start, and that was shown. Cheese and Cheese says, yeah, great point that under Silva, one injury and it went tits up, but Carlo seems to have plan A, B and C. Exactly. Williams is better than when Koeman was buying players like a kid with his mum's credit card on FIFA. Matthew says, having Carlo as our manager is our new transfer strategy. Players are excited to play under him. They certainly are. Raymond says, when Captain Marco Silva was at the helm steering us in circles around Death Wreath, it wasn't great, mate. Cheese and Cheese says, we need to sell the likes of Keane, Moise Keane he's talking about, bring in truckloads of money and buy a wide player. Let's hope we can have Europe as a playing card in negotiations. I think we spoke about that, didn't we, the other day? I think Moise Keane will be a goner. El Tutor, what's happening, mate? He says, James and Dean combo is very effective. Everton needs to try a lot more. I want to see the players look to create more chances for free kicks. Vamos Everton, cheers mates, is right. Gene Jesus never said that. I didn't want that, Carl. Carl says, but we want the players to have that mentality. Paige says, and the reason why the players have that mentality is because Carlo has and his winning mindset. Please sell Moise Keane and bring in a wide player. And Carl says, I said this to you. He is the best manager in the world back in May. And Jesus, so don't get me wrong, I and most fans are hoping for Europa as the current minimum, but the dressing room seems to think we're title contenders. Well, ultimately, it's a confidence-based sport, and if your players are confident, then they're going to continue to go out and put in performances. Which I find the generals, Phil, I believe. Women says, Phil, what's with the new name? Haha, I've blown your cover. So
I blown his cover when he was hanging outside ours in the buses, didn't I?
I knew that one was covered.
That's why he's changed it. We're on to you, Phil. You know, we're on to you, mate.
I knew that was covered. It's a new identity, mate.
Can't kid a kidder, mate. Can't do that.
And Carl says, not just that, lads. Let this sink in. James looks disappointed when he only gets 1 or 2 assists. And Ben Godfrey has been the best signing in the league. 25 million for that kind of versatility. And Liam says, Cam, who'd win in a race, Godfrey or Usain Bolt? Godfrey in probably first gear, to be honest. Probably wouldn't even have to shift it. Wouldn't
even get moving. Well, he's an absolute tank, isn't he?
He's just
on like the comments about about getting to Champions Leagues and things like that. I mean, that's the team thinking that. Yeah. I mean, Everton fans are probably thinking we've just got to see, when you look at the table, Villa have got like 2 games in hand on us, but they sort of listen, it's going to be a massive effect on them, this COVID thing. And then you look at Tottenham, they've had a game in hand on us, so if they win it, they go ahead of us. And then you've obviously got
City as well tonight.
Man City, you've got 2 games in hand. So yeah, but the thing is for me is that we're making this gap more between us being in the top 6 and the 7th place.
Yeah,
we're ahead of West Ham and we're ahead of Villa.
Yeah.
That they're to me probably Chelsea, but Chelsea are in one of them weird seasons again, aren't they? Where if they do sack Lampard, you could see them bringing in a top manager, but hopefully not for us. Hopefully it's good news for us and he keeps him forever long. But if you start just building that gap away from other teams, you don't start looking behind you then. It's all up front.
Yeah.
And there's no sort of pressure then, or there won't be no conversation about Everton going for Champions Leagues and things like that. Just plod along, getting these games in, the points in. And then you see when it comes to like 30 odd games and you're still in the mix with like maybe three points off, that is huge.
Yeah.
Anything could happen then.
Yeah, spot on.
Anything.
All we can do is win our games ultimately, and if we win and then Tottenham win and tonight and City win and we drop to 5th or 6th, I don't know where we'll drop, we can't really look at it and be disappointed because we won our game and we're still up there. We're still a point behind Liverpool until they next play their next game, which is on Sunday against Man United. So and you know we will play before then, unless obviously it's postponed.
I think this year we're all, you know, when you're going through the emotions of the season all, and you feel like it's a big opportunity, don't you? And you sort of get a bit anxious watching Everton and things like that. But really all I can say is just enjoy it. I mean, when have we ever had a time in a very long time since we were up here? I mean, it was probably Martinez, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that was like, what, 6 years, maybe more, maybe longer?
7 years ago, yeah.
So just enjoy it. We're still in a like a transition phase, so just enjoy it. Enjoy the ride, and listen, wherever we come, it's been a very, very good season, and you can see Ancelotti will take that momentum into the next season.
Yeah, spot on. Couldn't agree more, mate. Couldn't agree more. Well, let's jump back into the game then. Obviously, like I said, we go 1-0 up. Alex Iwobi scores. Not so long later, we concede. I actually think it was a really poor goal to concede defensively. It comes from Tom Davies. Has got a lot of stick for this, and we will talk about Tom Davies a little bit later on in the stream, Tom. But it comes off a Tom Davies knocks it on from one foot to another. It goes out for the corner. It's not Tom Davies' fault. It's absolutely not Tom Davies' fault because ultimately they don't score directly from the corner for a start, and the ball comes right back in, and everyone gets drawn to the ball. But it's
if you're blaming Tom Davies for that, I mean, talk about agendas.
I have seen some nuts.
Of it. How can you have like 3 minutes later off and go, that's his fault?
Yeah. Well, exactly.
What about the marking at the back post and things like? It's just on it. Like Takori gets absolutely sent for an echo.
Yeah.
Like it's just like things like that. But well,
that's what I was gonna say. Everyone. Obviously, the corner comes in and it goes just over. A little bit like our goal, to be fair, our second goal. It comes back out to the left-hand side. They throw a ball in. Everybody gets drawn towards the ball, and one of their best players, Ruben Neves, is at the back post, completely free, and sort of puts it in. And it was a really, really poor goal to concede, Tom. Defensively, the marking was off, and you're sort of thinking 10 minutes, 12 minutes into a game here, whatever it was, 15 minutes in, really poor defensive goal. Don't throw it all out the way now. Don't go in and put in a lackadaisical performance. Don't go in and lose your heads. From that point on, I mean, we talk about the goal, of course, it was defensively poor to concede, but from that point on, I think we were very solid defensively. From that point on, I think it was a poor game of football. There wasn't a lot in it. It was very, very boring, but that was expected considering we had no movement in centre-forward positions because we were playing with no strikers. But defensively, I think from that point on, we woke up a little bit and we were very, very solid. I want to talk about Michael Keane and Yerry Mina in a second, but it was a poor goal to concede, wasn't it, and to allow them back into the game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the phases of play going through it. I mean, Mina just gets like a head on it, really just gets a head away, and then Takori's running out to go press the ball on Nuri, and Ait Nuri, who's very, very good, by the way. Yeah. That young lad's got a bright future. But Takori runs ahead, and then Mina sort of goes back. But the person who you're sort of looking at is Sigurdsson. Sigurdsson just runs out and just sort of, he's not necessarily looking at what Nuri's going. He sort of just goes and presses Silva, and Silva hasn't even got the ball. So you sort of want him to go fill the space that Takori sort of like Ait Nuri's going into. That's where you want him to go press and sort of give him a hand. But listen, you go through. He absolutely, I mean, fair play to the lad. He must have absolute burners on him if he's beaten Takori on that. He couldn't get near him. But the issue for me was when he did play it in, you're looking at it now, and you know you've got Holgate, Keane, and Godfrey in good positions, but you've got at the back post Iwobi and Luca Dean just marking absolutely nobody. Yeah. There's two people, just go mark them. Yeah. Like that surely should say to you that's the danger.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, alright, fair enough, Davies sort of went out for it, but there's plenty of other things and other issues what went on that led up to that goal, and especially Iwobi and Dean. I mean, Dean had a good game, so did Iwobi, but it was just poor marking. And listen, I don't want to be too harsh on him, but I always wondered, and I'm starting to think, like, where was Pickford in that position? Like, he sort of went very tight to the near post, and the Wolves lad was never ever getting a shot on target from that position. Yeah. So he was, in fact, as half of his body is outside of the post. Yeah. So it's just listen, it's bad all round, but I thought, like you said, they come back. I mean, after that, I do think in the end they got the Reds together, but I feel like Wolves then took a bit of a...
Yeah, they had a period, definitely.
They put a bit of a foothold into the game, didn't they, where you thought, we've got no attack and threat here. It's just completely gone, hasn't it? So you're thinking if another one goes in for these, you think, wow, we've got nothing here to even bring us back. But listen, they sorted it out, and I thought in the end, I thought they were pretty comfortable, Everton, in defending wise.
Yeah, well, you're spot on, and like you said about the goal, everybody sort of got dragged. It's like a magnet. Everybody got dragged towards that left-hand side, and nobody marked it. To be fair, I mean, Ruben Neves scored, but there was about 2 or 3 other Wolves players that were standing in free positions. If it wasn't him, it was going in from somebody, and everybody just got sort of magnet, just sort of made towards that left-hand side. attached to the ball, if you like, attacked to the ball, and nobody got attacked to the other men standing in the box. And I agree, there was a period then of 15-20 minutes where Wolves started to get a bit of confidence and put a foothold on the game, and you're thinking, don't have this go so classic Everton where we just lose our heads now and we drop our heads and the other team comes and bombards us. But I think we dealt with that period of pressure really, really well. And don't get me wrong, Wolves didn't have an awful lot going forward. They'll probably be disappointed with their attacking play as well. Obviously, no Jimenez, no Traore. But you're right, Tom. It got to a point in the game, certainly after we conceded, where you're thinking, if we concede again here, we're going to really struggle to get a second, because at this point, this was 25 minutes into the game, you could tell Gylfi Sigurdsson wasn't doing anything from a forward position whatsoever. James Rodriguez was coming to create, so again, I'm not going to be critical of him because he's brilliant creatively, but he wasn't going to run behind the defenders because he knows that nobody's going to play a ball into James Rodriguez, he's playing the balls into somebody else. So you were sort of thinking, at that point, I'm not going to lie, I was thinking, just see this out now, defend really, really well, see it out, take a point, because it's going to be very difficult for us to score a second. The only way we were going to score a second was either a bit of James magic again, or a cross into the box and a big header, which is what happened, obviously. But the last thing we would have needed was them to come on us and score a second goal, and then ultimately put all of the pressure on us then, because they would have probably then sat back and gone, well, they've got no strikers on the pitch here, so, and we'd have been probably forced to bring on Richarlison a bit earlier, who wasn't obviously fit, and you see that by the fact that he only come on in the last 10 or 15 minutes, and even when he come on, there was moments where you could still see he was struggling. But like you said, I think we really dealt with that after that period of pressure. I think we really dealt with that. I want to talk about Michael Keane and Yerry Mina, Tom, two players that we've probably both sat here together on a stream previously and said they're not good enough or they need to improve this, that and the other. Absolutely exceptional again yesterday. Yerry Mina, everything that come to him, other than the goal, of course, after the goal, the goal that we conceded, everything that come in ball-wise, he headed out, he dealt with. Michael Keane, not only the goal that he scored, which we'll go on to in a moment, but defensively he was so solid. I thought Yerry Mina done well on the ball as well, to be honest with you. There was a couple of moments where it got passed back to him, and he sort of had to deal with that quick decision-making and pressure, and he did it really well. They have created a colossal partnership at the back, haven't they? And again, yesterday, they were exceptional.
Yeah, they sort of complement each other very well, don't they? I mean, Mina sort of takes the mantle up of being the organiser. You just see it all the time. He's very commanding, and he's talking all the time, and he sort of tells people where they should be and where they shouldn't be. But Keane just seems like I put out like the last month, I think. Michael Keane becomes Alessandro Nesta in a low block. Yeah. But Mina makes him that. Yeah. He just looks so comfortable when Mina's playing, and they like know each other's game in and out now. And listen, that's a very, very good thing for Everton. I mean, it's hard to get partnerships around the team, but you need that. Yeah. You need that to go play. I mean, you could even suggest we maybe have 3 or 4 partnerships. You've probably got Dean and Rodriguez. You got Mina and Keane together. Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin. Yeah. Richarlison and Rodriguez. I mean, you want that round your pitch, but in terms of them two, they're just solid, aren't they? They seem to be loving defending, which is a bit of a strange one to say for a defender in this modern age, isn't it? They just look like they want to defend, and you seen at the end, the both of them were just absolutely made up, weren't they? The both of them were sort of the forefront of the celebrations there. I mean, Keane was just made up. Yeah. And going forward, I mean, in terms of if we do want to get in these two have just got to start. Yeah, they have. They've just got to start every game if that's possible.
Yeah, spot on, 100%. They've been very, very, very solid, and we'll go on to talk about the goal in a second. But again, defensively, I agree with you. You think you're spot on, Tom. Absolutely spot on. They complement each other so much. It's like Keane knows how Mina plays, and Mina knows how Keane plays, and there's that communication there. Like I said, Mina's probably a little bit more comfortable on the ball. We've even seen Michael Keane putting balls over the top.
But just on that though, he's certainly improved, Keane, on the ball. Yeah. I mean, his passing's been brilliant. I mean, his switches to Luca Dean on the left were very, very good. Yeah. I think last year I was watching it, and listen, he come from a team where it was just hit out the way.
Yeah.
Not coming from Burnley and the way Davies has his team set up. No way. So he had a like sort of period to get more improvement in him in terms of progressing and passing wise. But I think he has. I think he's got there. And listen, for defenders, they're only, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they're both 28, aren't they?
Yes.
I think listen, that's very young for two centre halves. I mean, you could have three seasons of that. And listen, if when it goes back to normal, we do find a proper right back who can sort of fit in nicely against Luca Dean and with Luca Dean and them two. I mean, you're onto an absolute winner, really, aren't you? You're sort of putting the foundations into a team where then you can go build up the front three.
Yeah, no, spot on, absolutely spot on. And another thing you mentioned there was like partnerships in football, and that's something that when I spoke to Kevin Campbell a couple of months back, and I know Kevin Campbell is alluded to this before on other videos on other channels, is that football's about partnerships. He was asked, about playing in a two up front, and he said, listen, football's about partnerships. Your left winger, your left back, your two centre halves, your forward and your winger, your centre midfielder and your forward. He talked about Everton, and he was talking about Baines and Pienaar, and
there you go.
He said football's all about partnerships and couples of players, 2 players here, 2 players there, 2 players there, that complement each other. And if you can get multiple partnerships in any one side, then you're going to look fantastic going forward, and that's what we're seeing now, isn't it?
Well, yeah, even if you go right through the whole of the Premier League, I mean, every top team or any team that has been in that sort of top 6 has always had a very, very good 2 centre half partnership. I mean, you look at Terry Carvalho, Vidic, Ferdinand. I mean, they've always had it. So if we can I'm not saying they're at that level, but
it's a partnership, isn't it?
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, you look at Jagielka and Lescott; they were very, very good together. You mean Distan and Jagielka were good together?
Yeah.
I mean, even though I can't speak about Distan because he threw away that fire, but I can't talk about it. Yeah, I'll never forgive him for that. But also, he was a very, very good defender, and they both were very good. But you always see, even when you just take Everton's history through it, any successful team ever had, they've always had 2 very good centre halves. Yeah. So hopefully that does then create it. Well, it is creating it. We're seeing the benefits of it. I mean, we did struggle in the first half of the season where they were worried about clean sheets and all. But as soon as the two of them got together, I think like I'll have to check on the clean sheets, but I think it's pretty high in terms of that.
Yeah, well, we're conceding a lot less goals, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is now the issues is up front.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Like if we can fix that, I mean, if we can fix that, also sort of bring someone on loan, because I think that stuck out like a sore thumb, didn't it? Yeah. Let's be serious. I mean, I know Ancelotti come out and sort of backed Tosin a little bit, but I mean, if you're playing Sigurdsson in front of you, mate, you might as well get the 21 bus from town and get out of here, mightn't you?
Yeah,
so that's one place I'd just like to see shore up, because every other place you're sort of not happy, but you're content with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just that it literally could be the difference.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying, Army. It literally could be the difference.
Yeah, spot on. Absolutely spot on. And you're right there. It's mad that at the start of the season we were scoring so freely but conceding so freely, and now we don't concede but we're struggling to score. It's like it's flipped on its head. Michael Keane then topping off another fans. We will get back into the live comments in a moment, by the way. I know there's loads of comments. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved. I really do appreciate that. If you're enjoying, please do hit that like button, share the stream, share the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. Michael Keane topped his day off with a fantastic goal, and I want to give a mention to Andre Gomez, who I have freely sat here and slated multiple times in the past, but credit where credit's due, and Andre Gomez come on yesterday, and I actually think that's the best the best use of Andre Gomez, to be honest, coming on in the last 10 or 15, 20 minutes against sides that are tired and just shorting the game up, winning fouls, using his body, using his his footballing brain. He has got a good footballing brain. I just think his lack of pace and energy lets him down. Using all of that to just slow the game down a little bit, especially when you're winning and, you know, teams are coming at you and flying at you. But to be fair to Andre Gomes, we've seen the more technical side of him yesterday. Corner comes in. It's a fantastic cross back in by Andre Gomes. He gets it back. It's a wonderful ball, a wonderful way to ball with his left foot. And Michael Keane gets on the end of it. And as soon as it touches Michael Keane's head, you know where it's going. It was a very, very, very good goal, Tom. Not only a fantastic header by Michael Keane, but you'd have to give credit where credit's due, and it was a fantastic cross by Andre Gomes. What did you think of the goal, and really, what did you think of Andre Gomes when he come on?
I mean, I was quite surprised that he was taking Davies off, because I thought Davies was quite comfortable, really. I mean, he didn't look in trouble. I thought Davies sort of let Decore go be the absolute madman that he was being. He was all over the place there, weren't he? But I thought Davies was pretty good. That substitution was a bit surprising to me there. I thought, oh, don't be taking Davies off and disjoint that. I thought, personally, like everyone probably did think, is just take Sigurdsson off. I thought, because he lacks so much defensively, Gomes, and we did see that at times he gets turned so easily sometimes, that his best position, and let's be honest, he's got legs on him still. He's still got legs on him, so I presumed that he was going to go up front. I genuinely did. I thought, I'll stick him up front, and you think, hold on, this might work here, because you're thinking he probably will go and try and run in behind and things like that, and that allows Rodriguez time to look and see. Because you've seen sometimes when Rodriguez did pick it up, I mean, Sigurdsson was dropping like 10 yards behind him, and you think, what was going on here? He was just thinking. But in terms of Andre Gomes, I mean, like you said, it was a brilliant, with his weak foot, by the way. He just shifted it, didn't he? And it was a cracking header, cracking pinpoint accuracy cross. And listen, he's. I think when you do look at it for Andre Gomes, I think we sort of see that he's a bit of the shell of himself. But I think in the last few weeks, I think he's putting like the work rate in to sort of try and make himself to put a bit of fight in for his Everton career. And that's what you want, really. But whether that continues and whether his technical ability can come back to the forefront is who knows. But listen, at least he's coming on and trying hard, and at least he's running like someone. I mean, imagine if he'd have brought Tosin on in that stage, it would have been.
It'd have been asleep, I think.
I think I'd have switched it off myself. But listen, he's trying hard and he's with. Let's hope. I don't discount anyone, but it's more hope than
expectation.
Well,
and ultimately, look, maybe that cross will give Andre Gomes a little bit of confidence, and maybe now he'll feel a bit more confident in getting the ball and putting it into the box, or trying to make that cutting edge pass and trying to play players in. And you know, it's not a bad thing, is it? He's going to be feeling very, very good after that cross. He's going to be looking at it thinking, you know what, that was a brilliant ball in, and I've contributed to the winner. And I think he deserves credit where credit's due. And I do want to go on to talk about Tom Davies in a moment. Tom, we'll get into the comments as well. I think I think not only the cross, which was absolutely exquisite, by the way, but he won a couple of fouls. He gave the ball away a couple of times, but he won a couple of fouls. He got in good areas. He just slowed the game down a little bit, to be honest, and put it at a level that we sort of needed in the last 10 or 15 minutes of the game. Richarlison done very similar. Come on, won a couple of fouls in it, rolled around a bit to waste a bit of time in extra time, and ultimately, in the last 5 minutes of a game, when you're winning 2-1 away from home with a very weakened squad, you just want to see the game out. Again, disappointing to see Richarlison go one-on-one and fluff it, but if he was going to fall over and roll around for 10 minutes, I was happy with that, because I just wanted the final whistle to go at that point. But Michael Keane, it's another excellent header, and he's becoming a threat now. 4 goals this season, another fantastic header, another goal, game-winning goal, and, you know, ultimately, I said at the start of the team, and I want to go back on something I said at the start of the team, without Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, and I know Richarlison come on, but he didn't start, so let's assume, without Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison, Everton's top goal squarer, I think, was Keane and Mina on 4 goals last season. wouldn't have been great playing without Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison last season. I think under Marco Silva, if we'd have had that press conference where he said Richarlison's a doubt and Dom's out, I probably just would have said, you know what, I'll just watch it with one eye open really, and sort of just have my hand like that, because I just wouldn't have fancied it whatsoever. It's different under Carlo Ancelotti, we know, and don't get me wrong, I think we need to improve even more with goals from other players. I think Decore needs to get involved a bit more. I think James will get involved a bit more. Good to see Iwobi on the score sheet. I think we need more from him. But Michael Keane has really, really been, he's been contributing going forward, and is heading towards goal at the moment. Is excellent, isn't it?
Yeah, well, between them, they've got 5 goals in the Premier League, so that's a massive thing for Everton. I mean, we all know other players should be chipping in more, and that's been a main issue for Everton over the many years, hasn't it? That one, you had Lukaku scoring the most goals, but no one else in the squad was really doing it. And now you've got probably a similar thing with Calvert-Lewin, but you've also got players who've got the sort of potential to start. Hopefully you'd expect Richarlison to finish on maybe 10 goals this season, and hopefully James Rodriguez gets about 5 or 6. I mean, I think he's on 3 now. So I wouldn't be surprised if he chips in with more. And listen, it's not the end of the goal streak for them too. I mean, the crosses that James Rodriguez puts in on set pieces, if he's playing, and Luca Dean, they're going to score more, aren't they? So it'd be great to see if Mina and Keane pushes into a Europa League position, wouldn't it?
With their goals.
just heading every
scoring. I think that'll be the game plan then. Just 11 men behind the ball, get a corner. Put them to up front. Well, we've got the options at centre back. I'd say that. No, I agree absolutely, completely. We're getting some of the comments then before we finish up. Wayne says Decore is out because 5 yellows. So Dinlady is playing TDM.
That's going to be a big.
It'll be tough.
It's going to be it looks like a Gomez, Davies sense. But listen, if it's the Villa game, you'd be probably going all right, leave it.
Yeah. You'd still expect a win.
Yeah, exactly.
Spot on. Neil Satter says Leon Bailey all day. I don't think we're going to sign Leon Bailey. Certainly not in January anyway.
No,
it's not happening, is it?
Nah, boat has sailed. Like I said, he just on here to him. Everton got offered him in the summer for 25, 26 million. He said no.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
That's what you're working with.
That'll go down like a lead balloon. Julian says, I'm a new fan to your channel and always watch it after the Everton games. Thank you very much, mate. Jonathan says, I think we need another creator, maybe someone like Buendia, another seat. Well, we need more more players in the team that are good enough to get involved. I don't know about Buendia, I'm not convinced, but
he's a good player, but you start, I know it might not be nothing, but why didn't someone go and get him in the summer and things like that? I mean, he's a very creative player, but in terms of, I mean, you're looking at, we've got that sort of type of player, Iwobi, Richarlison, you've got that type, so we need to go to a more of a fast-paced, powerful winger really, and the CM, I mean, sticks out like a sore thumb really, doesn't he? We've got to find, Ruben Neves, that's just perfect. I mean, I'd love that.
What a player.
I mean, his little. I mean, that sort of technique he's got, where he just touches it with his laces of his boot and just gets a volley, and the dip that he gets in that ball is just nuts.
Yeah,
but that sort of player is just desperately wanted at Everton. I mean, if they could get someone on set, there's a young lad at Valencia, Carlo. I mean, he'd be right up to my street for in terms of just playing a defensive playmaker. I mean, he's been very, very good this season for Valencia, and plus as well, they're in a bit of turmoil, so you wouldn't be paying 50, 60 odd million for them.
Yeah. Hopefully Everton are sort of keeping an eye out then, but no, I agree, it's definitely the type of player that we need. Jaden says, I don't think it's a tactic, but I don't like being put under pressure after scoring. We need to keep pressure on. I don't like being put on pressure after scoring. We need to keep pressure on to see it off. I think that's probably just that players sort of falling asleep a little bit after scoring and being a bit complacent.
No, I just think Everton do it all the time, though, don't they?
Yeah.
If all the season, they've always done that. I mean, the most, like, they always say, the token thing is that the managers say, they always say, you're most vulnerable when you've just scored.
Yeah.
So, Ancelotti's just trying to see out that first 5 minutes of pure pressure that they're going to bring to try and get one back, and then it sort of just settles itself down then.
Yeah, spot on. Williams says,
but it still doesn't help.
Yeah, it doesn't help the fan, I'll tell you that. Williams says Lozano, and he also says he dips his balls. You what? Well, he dips his balls, mate. Look at that chested volley that he took yesterday. Bloody hell, mate. I nearly flew behind my couch.
I think Whamy's on the wrong channel here. Type of comment, isn't he?
Not that type of balls, Whammy. He's looking for something there. Alfonso says, when there is a corner with James, you know there's a possibility of a goal with Keane, Mina and DCL. I just get excited for corners now. Spot on. I remember a time not so long ago, Everton used to get a corner, and I used to say, you may as well give it to them because it's going out for a goal kick. It's absolutely pointless. Whereas now, we're a threat.
Sigurdsson's just awful. I mean, he can't lift his leg.
No.
He can't lift his leg. It's just he doesn't even miss the first man. So Mina just runs that near post every time now.
Yeah.
He just does it. I mean, he done it against there when he scored.
Arsenal.
Mina. Yeah, and I was like, why didn't he figure this out earlier? Just go as close as you can to him and try and head it on, because he can't beat the first man.
That's it. When he says Soz, I got confused. Alfonso, yeah.
He must have thought he was on his OnlyFans account there.
Alfonso says, yeah, and that is why I'm happy with their performances. But the reality is they are overachieving. Of course, they could become very good wingers. He's talking about Godfrey and Holgate. I think he means fullbacks, but we have to be realistic. Jonathan says we need a new right-hand side, new right-back and a fast-scoring winger. Iwobi has done well but needs competition. William says Harry Maguire goes to bed and dreams about being Michael Keane when he grows up, and that's what Wolves are thinking. What's going on here? Are we still in the midfield? G says Holgate and Godfrey are never wingers, because Alfonso says, I agree with Reece and Godfrey played well, but you can see they're not proper wingers. I think you're talking about full back. Which says Ben's a monster. William says Ben the Beast Goat is free. Is whatever he wants. Reece says we're a direct winger, an energetic box to box, and a reliable right back away from being a serious team. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, the summer transfer window is going to be very, very incessant in terms of how Everton progress. I mean, they're going to be prepared for like 4 or 5 in again.
Yeah,
that is going to happen, but. You're gonna probably see Sigurdsson still in the team. You're gonna maybe if Goma, you don't know what he could do. It's just in terms of who's gonna pay these wages and who's gonna take them. It's just ultimately down to that. I mean, Davies, you don't know. It's quite a lot of players in that team now have got the futures all up in the air. But listen, I think you're gonna see Sigurdsson next year. I do. I honestly do.
I see him getting a new contract, to be honest.
Well, that'll be a disaster, but giving a 30-year-old a new contract with a year left. I mean, I was speaking to Andy, the Piv, about this, and I said, listen, I can understand the in terms of giving him this next season and letting him go on the free, but I just can't understand why you give him another It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make financial sense or anything to just keep a 31-year-old player a new like 2-year deal. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I agree. It's a bit of a weird one, but I can see it going that way, to be honest. But I understand. I completely get it. I don't really understand it myself, to be perfectly honest with you. Liam says, "Hey Cam, love the vids, mate. What a win! Another away from home this season. Carlo, Fantastico is the best manager in the world. Michael Keane, what a centre-back. The best in the country. And James Rodriguez, world class, is right, mate. Uden says Aston Villa versus Everton in doubt. Burnley won Kenny and Ancelotti on the Corey suspension. Everton Botches says, hey Cam, lad, how's everyone doing? I'm not too bad. Chen La says, how good does it feel to be an Everton fan right now, even after the West Ham defeat? It feels boss, mate. It feels absolutely boss.
Roller coaster.
Well, it feels boss right now. It might feel awful on Sunday.
You might feel done.
It might feel awful on Sunday, but It is. It's Pepsi Max FC, mate. That's what it's like. And that's the roller coaster, by the way, not the drink. If Pepsi want to sponsor me, though, I'd be quite happy to drink a few Pepsis during the stream.
Or Coca-Cola is available.
Oh yeah. Other drinks are available. Like anyone, basically anyone. Cal says hello, great win, lads. That's the performance that gets you top 7 or 4th. He also says people who said Hammers makes us worse are clueless. Hammers creates everything from everywhere. Mostly journalists, to be fair, because they want him to desperately fail, don't they? Like they want everybody else to desperately fail. Anyway, before we finish up, mate, I want to talk about Tom Davies because he has come under a lot of pressure, under a lot of criticism recently. Understandable from certain performances. Don't know whether it's just me. I thought he done all right. To be fair, the other day I thought he done okay. He did get bypassed on a couple of occasions, but on the ball, I know his stats were fantastic, and on the ball, I thought he done what he needed to do. Look, he's not Alan. We know he's not Alan. He's not anywhere near as good as Alan, but he done a job yesterday, didn't he?
I mean, he's probably beyond Alan and Decore, our third choice centre mid, isn't he? Yeah. I mean, you're looking at it and Gabaman's absolutely know it. Listen, he's going to be a new signing when he eventually comes back, Gabaman.
Absolutely.
But Davies has just done his job. I mean, he hasn't been I thought he was brilliant in the Sheffield United game.
Yeah.
But I just think listen, he's one of them players that is going to do a stupid 10-yard, passing to Dean 5 yards and he balloons it over his head. He's just that type of player, isn't he? He does everything great, or good to a point, and then next minute he's just absolutely volleying balls out into the park end and into the Gladys Street, isn't he? So he's just that type of player. But listen, who would you? I'd say this then. Would you rather have Delph there?
Well, that's it. I don't think anyone's arguing that we need better players, but that's it.
Would you rather have Gomez there? I mean, the liabilities, aren't they? At least he's bringing some sort of defensive side to it and attacking. I mean, he's the better passer in terms of that side at the moment. You don't think you can deny that, really. Yeah. I mean, Alan's very good at going to chasing balls down and work rate and things like that, and he's all right doing little short balls and things like that, but he'll never pass through the lines into the front three or anything like that. So listen, just be happy that Davies is in, because if Davies gets injured and then Delph or someone, you'd be ruined. You'd be absolutely. The funny thing is with football is that if that did happen, they'd be crying for him back.
Yeah.
So it just works just up and down, isn't it? But listen, he's been good in my opinion this season. He's just been good. He hasn't been brilliant, hasn't been horrendous, but he's just been good.
No, I agree completely. And I think if you were to look at his performance yesterday and compare it to the likes of an Alan, obviously prior to him getting injured, statistic wise, you probably wouldn't see much difference. And I know I'm not comparing him to Alan, and I'm not saying he's as good as Alan. Obviously, we know Alan is ahead of him, but like Tom said, who else? Who goes in there? And no one's saying Tom Davies is going to be a starter in 2 years when we're a top 4 team. Yes, we need improvements. Yes, we need to bring in better players. But at this current moment, who else? Tom's doing okay at the moment, I think. And at the end of the day,
just a squad player.
Yeah, he's a squad player. That's it.
That's what you want. I mean, I thought Leon Osman was awful, but he was a squad player that come in and done a good job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just you need these players. You can't have 22 players world class right the way through your team. It's just not going to happen at this point for Everton.
Exactly. 100%, I agree. Adelaide said Everton have become a team with a great performance attacking. It's very dangerous attacking, spot on. Phil says shame Tom's not as good as his uncle. Alfonso says yikes, I have to go back.
Who's his uncle?
His uncle played for Everton. I'm pretty sure his uncle played for Everton. Let me just double check, because I remember a story being put out there when he broke into the Man City team. Alan Whittle is his uncle.
Okay.
Play for
too young.
Sorry, yeah. You me both.
Too young for that. I'll do better. I'll have a little gander at that one, but
I remember them doing a big interview around it when he broke in the City against the in the City game.
Yeah. I'll have a little look at him.
Alan Whittle. Too young for me as well, mate. Too old for me. Not too young for me. I know, yeah. I found myself in a little bit of a...
How old's your girlfriend?
That's what I mean. Just for clarification, she's 21. Just for clarification. I found myself in a little wormhole there that I had to...
So she's not got a free bus pass?
No, definitely not. I had to James Rodriguez my way out of that situation there. That was a tight one.
She gets free toast at the YMCA, does she? Yeah.
No, I realised what I said quickly there. Phil says fab player, Alan Whittle. Gandhi says Alan Whittle. Everton Botcher says thoughts on Balassi whining. We've battered dead horse with that one, haven't we? I mean, it's just it is what it is with Al Yannick, innit? Love me entertainment.
Just love me, innit?
It is.
Listen, players like that, you don't want it. You don't want all your players on Twitter just rabbiting on about the club, do you?
No, it's not a good
Some things have just got to stay in house.
Yeah, spot on. Whammy says, who Tom, Thumbsy got a footy, who would have thought so tiny? Gani May says, he scored in loads of 1-0 games when we won the league, lads. There you go, Alan Whittle. Whammy says, standard Balassi is a skate activity. Che says, Cam, it's 1878 ST being booted off my YouTube. Hi, mate. Hopefully you get that back. Big thanks for joining us again. James says, what have you two thought of a Wobie season? For me, he's been class. He's been very much improved, I think. Still needs to improve his final ball, but very, very much improved.
I think in terms of the first time, when he first came in, everyone was just all with him. But to make that right wing his own and sort of develop into a very good attacking threat for Everton now. I think he's a lot more comfortable in that position and playing that sort of role because it's not his natural position. I mean, I'd like to see him more centrally, but we've got James Rodriguez there now, maybe on the left at sometimes. But no, I think he's been really well. I mean, I think he's set up like 11 big chances for Everton.
Yeah.
Chances created, so that's huge. I mean, he's had, hopefully that goal now can add a few more to it because we do need that.
Yeah, no, spot on. Exactly, and I agree completely. You know, I think it's sort of step by step with Iwobi, and he's been much better. He's confident for a start. He's playing direct. He's getting involved, and the goal was sort of was the cherry on the ice and on the top of the cake, if you like, for Iwobi so far this season. But like Tom said, he needs to be getting involved a lot more, and I am confident that he will do that, to be fair. Alfonso says, is the winger the position of Richarlison play? Sorry, my English is my second language. Yes, it is. Full-back would be Godfrey and Holgate at the moment, and Dean and Coleman generally. Phil says, Carlo wins a lottie. There you go. Jaden says, thought I had a heart attack, mate, after that Ruben Neves volley and free kick. You and me both, mate. You and me, absolutely both.
That free kick, I mean, I'm sure everyone assumed that once Decore handballed it there, I thought it was game, set, match there. I thought it was 2-2 and that was it.
It left us
he's absolutely brilliant, and he's class footballer, and I thought he was going to put it on the left side of the Pickford, but he chose that and he just clipped the end of the post, didn't he? Yeah. And listen, fair play to Everton, they got away with one there.
That's it. But sometimes you need that luck, don't you?
Well, that's it. I mean, last season that would have went in, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that they'd gone in and then they'd gone in again. Yeah. They'd gone in twice, that one. Wayne says if he improves his passing, both quality and choices, he can be very dangerous, talking about Iwobi. And James says, where do you two think we'll finish this season? It's difficult, isn't it? It's very open.
I mean, looking at it in terms of team-wise, and you're open Calvert-Lewin and things, and all. If everything goes in Everton's favour in terms of everyone's healthy and all things like that going forward now, I'd be really happy with 7th. Yeah. That's me personally saying I'd be happy with 7th, but listen, if they continue to what they're doing, I mean, 5th and 6th is not out of the realms of possibility.
Yeah, I'm spot on. I'm completely in agreement with you.
Fourth, then it's just lights out.
We're having a party if we're 4th, mate.
Yeah, lights out when it's 4th, but
obviously a social distance party.
Yeah, Zoom party. Yeah. But in terms, I just think we're just gonna lack squad wise.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think there's just others that have just got better squads who sort of can bring in them squad players, and the levels don't drop as much as what Everton do. I mean, you can clearly see it, the evidence of how when we miss our best players.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. Absolutely. Well, we'll finish it up there then. Big thank you to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. If you've been watching as a YouTube video, please do leave your comments in the section down below and we'll get involved with as many of them as possible. Big thanks to everybody. If you could leave the video a like if you've enjoyed it, would mean a great deal to me. If you could subscribe to the channel as well, that would be great. Massive thanks to Tom for coming on as per usual. Anything to say before we finish up, Tom?
No, let's just keep the Ancelotti steam train rolling.
That's it.
Let's hopefully that Villa game's on.
That's it.
And here we go again. We get another 3 points. Then we go ahead. We'll probably go ahead of Liverpool. Yeah. Say it quietly, but
well, say it loudly if it happens.
Yeah, but if that happens, listen. Even if it doesn't, just to be in with a point in behind them. Especially when you say 50 points at the end of last season, that's just nuts. In terms of trying to switch that deficit over at this moment in time, it's brilliant. So let's hope the Carlo continues on it.
Yep. Spot on, and I echo exactly what Tom says. Let's just enjoy it. Look, we'll all be sitting here at some point in the season saying, what about if we beat Newcastle, what about if we beat West Ham, what about if we beat Southampton? But let's just enjoy it, because it's very good at the moment, and there will be more setbacks and there will be more disappointments, but that's what happens in a transition season. But like Tom said, the fact that we've managed to, lower that deficit from 50 to 1 at the moment. I know it's at the end of the season, but it's absolutely remarkable, and we just have to enjoy it. So there you go. Don't forget to check out Tom. His links to his Twitter will be down in the description down below. Go and follow him. Big thanks to Tom, of course, for joining us. Massive thanks to everybody for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please do hit that like button. We will be back tomorrow or Friday with the game preview ahead of the Villa game. Hopefully that one does go ahead, but we'll have to wait and see, I suppose, on the decision that's made ahead of that one. Big thanks for watching. Please leave a like if you've enjoyed. Phil says, cheers, lads. Cheers, Phil. You didn't see about the toffees. See you on Friday. Cheers. Where Mr. Sandro went. Yeah, he's gone, Sandro. He went in the summer to, I can't even remember what the name, Huesca?
Was it Huesca? Yeah.
Huesca.
It was one of them.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was Huesca. It was on a permanent, so happy days. And Wimmy says, take care, guys. Cheers, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. Leave a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you soon. There we go. Thank you very much, mate.